first up is Ad Subbed, or as we have it here, as Horrible. Now this is the Region 1. It was released over here on the Medusa VHS label, and it was banned in November of 1983. To my best of my knowledge, that one, the Medusa VHS, is actually cut by 2 minutes, and it's been restored in this one. Now there is a German release, and I think that one's Andromedas 2 is what it falls under. It's cut just like the Medusa VHS, and it's also only in German, and it's also extremely rare now out of print. Now, to me, this is one of D'Amato's best and worst films, and I'll explain. It's one of his best films in the use of violence. It's not over the top, it works, it's a nice steady pace throughout all the sequences. The edit is perfectly tight, the audio ironically surpasses the film. It fits just absolutely beautifully. There's no flaws whatsoever in the audio, so it gets my thumbs up for that one. But it's the other sequences. It's the long, drawn-out sequences. The sequences that really have no point in there whatsoever. The dialogue is too long. There's moments in there where there is no talking for about 2 minutes. Now, to me, you cut that out, but I don't know if that was D'Amato getting lazy, or if it was because he was trying to pad out the film for feature length for overseas buyers. Now, the plot, or obscure plot, or as one of the characters says, absurd. George Eastman is a guy on the run, and hot on his tails is a priest. Now, George Eastman has some sort of like radioactive blood, which means that is extremely hard to kill, and that's basically all it is, really. Now, I don't know if it explained in the actual film why the priest is after him, because if they did, I've actually missed it. I've missed the big massive plot point to it. I'm not gonna lie, I did find myself fast forwarding through percentages of it, so I might have missed it there. You've got your usual characters. You've got sort of like your dumb-witted police officer, and you've got sort of like your babysitter, and your so forth. But there's two people in the entire film that, one of them that I was like, fair play, you're a good actress, I give you. And the other one, I wanted to yank my eyeballs out or just block up my ears, because the little kid irritated the crap out of me. Now, the female actress, she plays a daughter. She's bedridden. And it's kind of like the end part of the film is all centred around her. Now, her brother, I wanted to kill him. He's an extremely annoying little boy. He reminded me of the kid from House by the Cemetery and Manhattan Baby, the two Falsey films with the blonde-haired kid. I can't stand him. He really frustrates me. Every time he's on screen, I find myself cringing. Now, I would go into complete detail about the actual plot, but I think that would be quite rude. I don't like it when people do it to me, so I don't want to do it for you neither. What I will talk about is the level of violence. Obviously, it's a video nasty, so there had to be cause for outrage. Now, for me, there's only two standout sequences in Absurd. The first one being a nurse who meets a nice, timely death with kind of like a screwdriver thing. That comes in at 21 minutes into the, roughly about 21 minutes into the film, and it lasts for about a minute and a half. So it's a nice little gore sequence. You see a bit of blood, so plus. And the next one literally comes 10 minutes later in the film. From what I can gather, the guy works in a slaughterhouse, and he meets a timely death with a I think it's a bandsaw. And it gives them a splitting headache, pretty much. Props to the guy who is the actor dying, because there's no way you get me that close to an electronic machine like that. So the gore, it's about a 6 out of 10. Bearing in mind when the film came out. Now, on today's standards, you see more in sort of like Casualty. But considering when the film was released and the outcry for it all, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Now, another thing, the actual DVD release, it's bare bones. All you get is English and Italian audio, so you can pick. And that's pretty much it. You got scene chapters. There's no trailers. There's no sort of like filmography. Nothing whatsoever on there. So I was kind of disappointed, because I think it's such a cool film. You'd expect sort of like everything to go in there, but unfortunately there wasn't. Now I don't know, because I did hear ages ago that it was something to do with the licensing rights. A company owned it and I was asking for way too much money for it. So I don't know if that's got something to do with it. I don't know. Now this one is the MYA release, Region 1, Bare Bones. Now, I only paid £5 for it from Amazon about a year ago, and to be completely honest with you, I wouldn't pay anything over that. I already owned it. I actually owned it on a bootleg, which I bought from a convention about 8 years ago, and needless to say, I paid way more than £5 for this. And when I got home, I realised that it was a really poor DVD rip of, or not DVD, VHS rip of the Medusa VHS. So it was actually still cut by 2 minutes, which I was extremely disappointed in. Now onto those missing 2 minutes that's in this one and not in the Medusa or German release. Now the rest of the film, transfer wise, is really good considering the age. The audio again isn't brilliant because it's in mono, but you can kind of understand that. Now the film, the transfer is really good apart from the missing 2 minutes. They are an extremely bad, grainy, VHS quality sort of like transfers. Now I kind of like, I'm a die-hard fan of believing to watch the fully uncut film, because that's the way the director intended you to see it. But with quality wise such as the one in this, I kind of found it spoilt it a little bit. It was just, they could have cleaned it up, or they could have sourced it from somewhere else. Now I don't know where they could have sourced it from, but it just let it down a little bit. So I was just for a £5, no more than that, to be perfectly honest with you. Now I'm going to be ranking the Video Nasties, or all of them, sort of like out of 10 on the level or sort of like cult status there is to them. Now to this one I'm going to give it a 7, mainly because it's Joe D'Amato, if I pronounce his name right, and George Eastman. I think when those two get together, they do come up with some obscure film ideas. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's a missing cannibal, like Holocaust porno. Great film. And plus it's also written by George Eastman, and I also think he did the Holocaust porno as well, but I could be wrong on that one. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. If you do come across it and you are a collector of the Video Nasties, I would suggest picking up this release if you can. Obviously every other one, to my knowledge, isn't in English, or if it is in English it's cut, or it's the German release. So yeah, horrible.